Futurebound at its best is really that hidden power in our community that brings together the best of innovation, the best of organizations, and the best of community to allow them to do what they naturally do, which is solve early development and childhood problems at scale. The more that Futurebound can be that catalytic silent partner that raises everyone else up and showcases the best of their work, the more prominent, the more profound, and I would say the louder the volume is going to be in Colorado, as this is the place to do these types of ventures and activities.
What you're not doing with an ecosystem project is coming marching in with your money, power, influence and brand and going, right, this is what we're doing for the next 10 years, get on with it, otherwise you're not going to get funded. What they're saying is, let's create this space, bring together diverse players, listen deeply to what you know needs to change, and we will support you to do things better.
So Gary Community Investments is both a foundation and an investment company whose mission it is to improve the lives of low-income children and their families. We have been what I think of as catalyzers for Futurebound. It's really not about Gary Community Investments and our role, but really thinking about how do we catalyze innovation to achieve our mission for low-income children.
In the early stages of Futurebound, I think it's absolutely critical just to focus on the community. Who's doing what? How are they doing it? Who's really, really passionate about the work that we have here in our community and in our state, and bring them together to understand where there's shared activity, where 1 + 1 = 3 and 5 and 7 and 10, and that's the most important piece.
So I, as an entrepreneur who started before there was an entrepreneurial ecosystem, I can vouch for the value of an ecosystem. It is really, really hard being an entrepreneur. It was some of the funnest stuff I ever did, but also the hardest. One of the things that I saw as entrepreneurship has become more popular is if you look at any industry or any city that's become a thriving, entrepreneurial place, it's this ecosystem evolves. And what happens when an ecosystem evolves is all of the players, in a very ecosystem loosely connected way, exist in one place to help make the journey a little bit easier.
And I think the thing that happens when that space is created is that people start to ask bigger questions. They start to tackle more complex issues than they might in their own silos. And without an intermediary playing a role to connect the dots across these parts, they don't naturally connect on their own. And we have such a potential for greater impact when we're connected.
One, you're helping define what it looks like to build an innovation ecosystem in early childhood. And by putting children at the center of the ecosystem, you organize and orient differently. And so I feel like you're trying to demonstrate that here in Futurebound, just what it looks like to get started and to try to do that.
I think that the early childhood development segment of the education sector has really not gotten the attention, the resources, the talent like other segments have gotten over time. I think in the last 3 years, it's been pretty recent that there's been more influx of capital, more influx of talent, more influx of just creative thinking. And so we're starting to see some really interesting stuff.
Denver and Colorado are a big enough state, there's enough people, there's enough systems, there's enough complexity, there are enough children that you can have a critical mass of people doing really, really complex work. But it's also small enough coming from California that's much bigger. It's like this is the right size where it's not too big and not too small. And Colorado is like a good diverse state. And my hope and expectation is that what we achieve in Colorado will be replicated throughout the country.
I think one of my hopes for Futurebound is that people see things they haven't seen before and they start to dream up new possibilities together, because the magic is really in the mixing of the parts.
It's one of the few places that I've seen in the country that's actually building an innovation ecosystem, and it's so what we need for the early childhood fields.